My name's Marta, and in this Red Gaming Tech video I am here with the latest from the tech world in the last 24 or so hours. I hope you have all had a wonderful Easter weekend. Sadly back to work and reality tomorrow, but for now I have some goodies for you. And those goodies are, well, the first item is going to be the fact that Microsoft have issued a new patch for Meltdown for Windows 7 and Server 2008. Then we have some more benchmarks and overclocking results for the Ryzen 7 2700X ahead of the processor's launch. And then finally we have Vega 20 being listed in Linux driver patches. So let's begin things, as I said, with Meltdown. Now this is a bit of a messy tale to say the least, as back in January and February there were fixes placed for Windows 7 and Server 2008 R2 machines to counter the Meltdown security vulnerabilities, which obviously you know all about. Unfortunately, these patches didn't so much fix things. Now, normal applications and just an ordinary logged in user can now access and modify any part of physical RAM and gain control over a box. So rather than stopping programs and non-admins from exploiting Meltdown, the fixes on Windows 7 and Server 2008 instead decided, you know what would be better? Let's give full read-write privileges to system RAM, shall we? And obviously Microsoft pushed some fixes for the vulnerabilities they accidentally opened with the security fixes. Unfortunately, the bug did remain within the kernel itself and was exploitable by malicious software and of course users as well. But it didn't stop there, unfortunately. That the fix for the fix didn't actually fix it completely, and now they've had to issue another emergency patch to finally stop up the hole that they originally, well, opened up themselves. So we've got a patch for a patch for a patch. It's patches all the way down, it tells you. So basically, if you're running the Windows 7 or Server 2008 R2, I suggest you get the latest update from Microsoft for this, because yeah, that's actually worse. Congrats. GG. But let's move on from the bad news, from the kind of messy news, I suppose I should say, to the good news with Ryzen 7 2700X. So of course the Ryzen 7 2700X does launch on April the 19th, so in just a couple of weeks essentially. But despite the fact that it's a ways away, we've had a few leaks prior to this, and now we have a rather juicy leak. As not only do we have benchmarks, but we also have overclock results, and this particular user managed to overclock their Ryzen 7 2700X to 4.3 GHz, paired with a AX370 Gaming 5 motherboard from Gigabyte, as well as a Corsair cooler. And the most important factor is 3600 MHz memory. Now, in the various leaks that we've seen previous to this, the memory speed wasn't brilliant, to be honest with you, but this obviously has more than enough bandwidth to bring to the table and not hamstring the results at all, really. So that's always good to know. But let's move on to the results, which I know is what you're really here for, and let's start with Cinebench R15. So again, at the overclocked 4.3 GHz, the 2700X scores an impressive 1946 points in Cinebench R15, which, interestingly enough, does put it in the same league as the HEDT i7-7820X, and also on 3 times the score of the FX8370, which obviously was the flagship CPU of the previous generation. So the fact that it's even in the same ballpark as a HEDT CPU is very, very impressive. And just looking over some results of the i7-8700K, it does actually beat the 8700K in Cinebench. And the results do not stop there, my friends. We also have some for Firestrike. Now for these we have a slightly lower clock speed of 4.25 GHz, and we see results on that clock speed of 22,226 points. Now, you might recall, if you stretch your memory back, that the Threadripper 1920X at stock scored just under 23,000 points, so the 2700X overclocked is actually approaching the score of Threadripper. That should kind of paint the picture of the impressiveness of these results. So overall, the 2700X is looking rather impressive, but of course we should wait for the full breadth of reviews and tests to be done. Obviously, we'll try and see if we can get our hands on one and all that good stuff, but no promises. It really does depend on what people have available for us, all that sort of thing. But regardless of that, whether or not we test it, let's wait and see what happens. But I am definitely interested. I think this could be quite the beast of a CPU. So let's finish things up with Vega. So, as I mentioned in the introduction to this video, we have several Vega 20s being listed in Linux driver patches. Now, you may remember that a similar occurrence happened earlier last month. I was just about to say this month, and I realised, wait, no, it's April now, somehow, but we have 6 chips being listed in the Linux patch. Obviously, they're just given code names. Not really feeling all that interesting, but it is interesting that we only have 6 variants. So once again, the speculation has begun as to what AMD are thinking with Vega. So we could be seeing RX Vega on 7nm. Obviously, this doesn't mean this is going to be happening. There also is the possibility that we could be seeing a cut down version of Vega being turned into the RX 600 series. Now, of course, the 580s and 560s, 570s, the 500 series, I suppose, which would have been faster just to say that rather than trying to be all clever about it. But regardless of that, the 500 series, of course, was on Polaris, so it would kind of make sense to see a 600 series perhaps cut down, let's compute units and that sort of thing, but making use of Vega. Or we could be seeing both, or we could even be seeing some, Frontier Edition, some Pros, some Instincts, all that sort of stuff. The possibilities are pretty much endless. I think it'd be kind of cool to see some RX 600 series making use of Vega. Perhaps they'd be a bit more around the sort of price tag we're used to with the 500 series. It'd also be nice to see 7nm as well. Unfortunately, there is really not much else to say other than pure speculation, so let the speculation commence, my friends. Hit me up with your opinions in the comments, and I'll see you next time.